Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and most welcome guests. This is my father, and I loved him very much. Unfortunately, he passed away on March the 27th at the age of 59, and it was very painful watching it. Because I know that Toastmasters has got many great listeners in it, I want to tell you about my father's passing and some lessons that I've learned from it that I believe we can all benefit from. My father was born in 1950 in London, and then he moved to the countryside, the beautiful Dorset countryside, where he met my mother. When I was a teenager, my parents separated, and my father followed his dream to become a folk musician. Unfortunately, he was a smoker, and he came down with a condition in his early 50s of chronic emphysema, which I'm sure some of you have heard of, which means that he had great difficulty in breathing. He managed to give up smoking, but his condition worsened, and last Christmas he went into hospital very ill indeed. I was going over to see him, but luckily he managed to recover. But this, of course, made me think about the fragility of his health, and it made me think I should really go to spend some time with him, just to talk to him and find out about his past and just hang out with him. The thing is, I never did that because of my job. I was very busy and I didn't have enough money. And now, of course, I greatly regret not going to do that. So my first lesson, is if you feel in your heart that you need to go and see a loved one or relative, then just do it. Don't make excuses about your job or money, because jobs come and go and debts can be paid off, but you can't bring back a loved one for one last conversation. On March the 27th at 7 a.m. the phone rang and it woke me up. It was my little sister from England, and she said to me, "Jake, you need to come back urgently. Dad's in hospital again and he's dying." And this is much worse than at Christmas. So I managed to get a plane the same day, and I got there in time to see him. He was in the high dependency unit, and he was surrounded by machines, and he had wires and tubes going into him, and he had a mask on his face, and he was unconscious. He didn't look well at all. It's very upsetting seeing your own father so ill. However, later that day he regained consciousness, and he was able to say, "Hi Jake, and thanks for coming." And I was very grateful for that small talk that we had, because it was the last proper communication that we had. The doctor said it was a miracle he'd recovered enough to even talk to me that day. After that he declined in condition, and they said, "We will need to take him off the life support system to die naturally with you." So we were gathered around him talking and just sharing memories of him, when all of a sudden we stopped and we all looked at him, because we felt something was happening. It was as if he was saying, "Okay, I'm ready to go now." But it wasn't with words, it was just a feeling that we all had. And I was holding his hand, and I felt a flicker of energy as something left his body. And it's a feeling I'll never forget. Then his breath became shallow, and it stopped. And my father was gone. After that, I needed to clear my head, so I went for a walk onto an ancient Iron Age hill fort. And because my father was a musician, I was able to listen to his music on my iPhone. And I felt he was talking to me through his songs about life and death. And I strode around the hill, crying and exclaiming to the heavens, and I watched the sunset go down over the beautiful English countryside. At my father's funeral, several of his musician friends played live music, which was wonderful, and I did his eulogy, because I thought if I can do that speech, every other speech would be easy by comparison. He was then cremated, and we spread his ashes on the highest hill in Dorset on a beautiful summer day. Then I had to sort out his house and his possessions, and those of you who've done that will know how difficult it is because of all the memories these things have. I found pictures I drawn as a kid that he'd kept all these years. I also took from his house one of his favourite guitars, a shiny black guitar, and I brought it back to Canada with me, and I sit on my porch and I play it in the sunshine surrounded by my flowers now as a tribute to him. And I'm back at work now, and work seems somewhat hollow now. And people say to me that grief stays with you forever. It never really goes away, but it does ease over time. And I hope that's true. But talking about grief and death does help ever so much. And that's why my second lesson is, if you have a bereaved friend or relative, please offer to be a friendly ear or a shoulder to cry on for them. They will appreciate it ever so much. So it's been a traumatic experience for me, but I have made positive changes to my life as a result of it, and I've been able to share these lessons with you. So I hope you remember to be a friendly ear to bereaved friends and relatives. Really take that on board. And most importantly, if you feel in your heart that you need to go and see a loved one or relative one last time, please go and do it.